The sound of screeching tires pierced the air as Jack Lawson swerved his motorcycle to avoid the descending alien spaceship, its metallic surface shimmering under Sydney's neon-lit skyline. Pedestrians scattered, their gasps and murmurs filling the night as the craft landed with a soft thud in the middle of the bustling park. Jack, a ruggedly handsome Australian with sandy hair and a weathered leather jacket, quickly parked his bike and approached the spaceship. His heart pounded with a mix of fear and exhilaration. As a seasoned pilot and amateur xenobiologist, this was the moment he had always dreamed of, a chance to encounter the unknown. The ramp of the spaceship lowered, and a figure emerged, bathed in the ship's ethereal glow. She was unlike any being Jack had ever seen. Tall and slender, with iridescent skin that seemed to shimmer in the night, Lyra's wide, curious eyes scanned the crowd. She hesitated, her delicate fingers clutching a small device. Jack's breath caught. "Welcome to Earth. I'm Jack. Can you understand me?" Lyra's gaze locked onto his, her expression a mixture of relief and curiosity. "Yes, I am Lyra. This place, it's overwhelming." Before Jack could respond, a commotion erupted. A group of onlookers, phones raised, began to approach, their curiosity quickly morphing into suspicion. Amid the crowd, Jack noticed a stern-faced woman in a lab coat, her eyes fixed intently on Lyra. Dr. Amelia Hart, renowned scientist and notorious for her unyielding ambition. Dr. Hart pushed her way to the front. "Step aside, everyone. This creature is coming with me." Jack moved to block her path. "She's not a creature. She's a visitor, and she's not going anywhere with you." Dr. Hart's eyes narrowed. "You don't understand what's at stake. We need to study her, for the safety of our planet." Lyra, sensing the tension, took a step back. Jack's protective instincts flared. "We're not doing this here," he said firmly. "Let's get her somewhere safe first." Grabbing Lyra's hand, Jack led her away from the crowd, weaving through the park's labyrinth of paths until they reached a secluded cafe tucked away from the main streets. The cafe's warm lights and soft music provided a stark contrast to the chaos outside. "Sit here," Jack said, pulling out a chair for Lyra. "I'll get us something to drink." Lyra nodded, her eyes still wide with wonder. As Jack ordered 2 coffees, he couldn't shake the feeling that their every move was being watched. Dr. Hart wouldn't give up easily. Returning to the table, Jack handed Lyra a steaming cup. "This is coffee. It might help you feel more grounded." Lyra took a tentative sip, her face lighting up with surprise and delight. "It's interesting," Jack chuckled. "There's a lot more where that came from. But first, we need to figure out what to do next." "Why did you come here, Lyra?" Lyra set the cup down, her expression turning serious. "My planet is in danger. I came seeking help, but I didn't expect to be met with hostility." Jack's mind raced. He had to protect her, but he also needed to understand the threat she spoke of. "You're safe with me," he said, trying to reassure her. "We'll find a way to help your planet. But first, we need to stay one step ahead of Dr. Hart." As the night deepened, Jack and Lyra sat in the cozy cafe, their conversation filled with whispers of distant worlds and the looming dangers that threatened them. The quiet hum of the city outside served as a constant reminder that their time was limited. Unbeknownst to them, Dr. Hart was already setting her plans into motion, her agents scouring the city for any trace of the alien girl. The real adventure was only just beginning. The door of the cafe burst open, the jingle of the bell drowned out by the thud of heavy boots. Jack's heart raced as he turned to see Dr. Hart's agents, their stern faces scanning the room. Lyra's eyes widened in alarm. "We need to go now," Jack whispered urgently, grabbing Lyra's hand and pulling her towards the back exit. They dashed through the narrow alleyways of Sydney, the night air cool against their skin. The city's labyrinthine paths offered them some cover, but Jack knew they couldn't run forever. They needed a plan. "Why are they after me?" Lyra panted, struggling to keep up with Jack's hurried pace. "Dr. Hart sees you as an experiment," Jack replied, glancing over his shoulder. "She thinks studying you will give her an edge, but I won't let that happen." They emerged into a quieter street, the distant hum of traffic their only company. Jack spotted a dimly lit garage at the end of the block. He led Lyra inside, closing the door softly behind them. The musty scent of old tires and engine oil filled the space. "We should be safe here for now," Jack said, motioning for Lyra to sit on a stack of crates. He paced the room, his mind racing for solutions. "We need to find a way to get you out of the city, somewhere Dr. Hart can't reach you." Lyra nodded, her expression a mix of fear and determination. "My planet is depending on me. I can't let them down." Jack paused, watching her. Her resolve mirrored his own. "We'll find a way, but first we need allies." The sound of a car engine approached, and Jack tensed. He peeked through a crack in the door, his breath catching as he recognized the driver. It was Max, a former colleague and trusted friend. Jack waved him down. Max stepped out, his eyes widening as he saw Jack and Lyra. "What's going on, mate?" "Long story," Jack said quickly. "We need your help. Can you get us out of here?" Max nodded without hesitation. "Hop in. I know a place." As they drove through the darkened streets, Jack explained the situation to Max. "Lyra's an alien, and Dr. Hart wants to capture her. We need to keep her safe." Max glanced at Lyra through the rearview mirror, a mix of awe and curiosity in his eyes. "We'll get you somewhere safe. I've got a cabin outside the city, completely off the grid." Lyra looked out the window, the city lights blurring past. "Thank you, both of you. I didn't expect kindness from strangers." Jack turned in his seat to face her. "We're not strangers anymore, Lyra. We're allies." The tension in the car was palpable, the weight of their mission pressing down on them. Max's cabin, nestled in the dense forest, offered a glimmer of hope. As they approached, the trees seemed to swallow the road, shrouding them in darkness. Max parked the car and led them inside. The cabin was small but cozy, with a fire already crackling in the hearth. "Make yourselves at home," Max said, pulling out blankets and setting up makeshift beds. "We'll figure out our next move in the morning." Jack sat by the fire, the warmth easing the tension in his muscles. Lyra joined him, her eyes reflecting the flickering flames. "Jack, why are you helping me?" He met her gaze, his voice soft but firm. "Because it's the right thing to do. We can't let fear and greed decide our future." Lyra smiled faintly. "Your world, it's different, but in some ways it's just like mine. Thank you." As the night deepened, they settled into an uneasy sleep, the forest's quiet enveloping them. But Jack knew their respite was temporary. Dr. Hart wouldn't stop until she had what she wanted. The real challenge was just beginning. The first light of dawn filtered through the dense forest, casting dappled shadows on the cabin's wooden walls. Jack woke with a start, the events of the previous day rushing back. He glanced over to see Lyra still asleep, her expression peaceful but tinged with lingering worry. Max entered the room quietly, carrying a tray of steaming coffee. "Morning, mate. We need to plan our next move," he whispered, careful not to wake Lyra. Jack nodded, taking a cup. "We can't stay here long. Dr. Hart won't give up easily. We need to find a way to get Lyra to safety." As if on cue, Lyra stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She stretched, her alien grace evident in every movement. "Good morning," she said softly, her voice carrying a hint of hope. "What's our plan?" Jack and Max exchanged a glance. "We need to get you out of the country," Jack said. "But first, we have to lose any trackers and cover our trail." "Max, do you still have those old contacts in the underground network?" Max nodded. "They can help us disappear, but it'll cost. We'll need to move fast." They packed quickly, gathering supplies and essentials. Max's cabin, though remote, couldn't shield them from Dr. Hart's relentless pursuit for long. As they loaded the car, the tension was palpable, every rustle of leaves and distant bird call a potential threat. The drive back towards the city was tense. Max navigated through backroads and lesser-known routes, avoiding main highways and potential checkpoints. Jack kept a vigilant watch, his mind racing with possibilities and contingencies. Lyra broke the silence. "Jack, why do humans fear what they don't understand?" On my planet, curiosity is celebrated, not feared. Jack sighed, his grip tightening on the dashboard. Fear comes from ignorance. People like Dr. Hart exploit that fear for their own gain. But not everyone is like that. Some of us believe in understanding and coexistence. Max pulled the car into an abandoned warehouse district on the outskirts of the city. The area was eerily quiet, the towering structures casting long shadows. They stepped out, the cool air filled with the scent of rust and decay. Inside the warehouse, they were greeted by a grizzled man named Leo, one of Max's old contacts. "This the alien girl you told me about?" Leo asked, his eyes narrowing as he studied Lyra. Max nodded. "We need your help, Leo. We need to get her out of here, somewhere safe." Leo scratched his chin. "It won't be easy or cheap, but I can get you to a safe house across the border. From there, you'll have to figure it out." Jack stepped forward. "We'll take any help we can get. Just tell us what we need to do." Leo gave a curt nod. "First, we need to swap vehicles and change your appearances. Dr. Hart's goons will be looking for you." Hours passed as they worked. Lyra's ethereal appearance was disguised with human clothing and a hooded jacket. Jack and Max donned new outfits, altering their looks to throw off any potential pursuers. As dusk fell, they piled into an old, beat-up van Leo provided. The engine roared to life, and they set off towards the border, every mile increasing the distance between them and Dr. Hart's clutches. The night was dark and moonless, the road ahead barely visible. Jack kept his eyes on the horizon, every nerve on edge. Lyra, sitting beside him, reached out and touched his hand. "Thank you, Jack, for everything." Jack squeezed her hand gently. "We're not out of this yet, but we'll get there. Together." Just as they began to relax, headlights appeared in the rearview mirror, rapidly gaining on them. Max cursed under his breath. "Looks like we've got company. Hold on tight." The chase was on, the van careening down the winding road with their pursuers hot on their trail. The tension rose with each passing second, the stakes higher than ever. The van roared down the desolate highway, headlights piercing the inky darkness. Jack's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, his heart pounding as the pursuing cars drew closer. Lyra sat beside him, her eyes reflecting the fear and determination that gripped them both. "Hold on," Jack shouted, swerving sharply to avoid an incoming roadblock. Max clung to the dashboard, cursing under his breath. The van careened off the road, plowing through a field of tall grass, the uneven terrain jostling them violently. "We can't keep this up," Max yelled. "We need a plan." Jack's mind raced. "There's an old bridge up ahead, near the gorge. If we can make it across, we might be able to lose them in the forest." Lyra's gaze met Jack's. "What if they catch us?" "We won't let that happen," Jack replied, his voice resolute. The bridge loomed into view, its rickety wooden structure barely visible in the dim light. Jack pushed the van to its limits, the engine screaming in protest. Behind them, the agents' cars were gaining ground. As they hit the bridge, the wooden planks creaked ominously under the weight of the van. Jack kept his foot on the gas, willing the vehicle to hold together for just a few more seconds. They reached the other side, and Jack swerved sharply, sending the van skidding off the road and into the dense forest. The agents followed, but the thick underbrush and uneven ground slowed them down. Jack maneuvered through the trees, his eyes scanning for a hiding spot. He spotted a cave partially hidden by foliage. "There," he pointed. They tumbled out of the van, scrambling towards the cave. Inside, the darkness was complete, the cool air a stark contrast to the adrenaline-fueled heat of their escape. They crouched, listening intently as the sound of engines grew louder, then slowly faded away. Max let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "I think we lost them." Jack nodded, but his relief was tempered by the knowledge that their reprieve was temporary. He turned to Lyra. "We need to get you to the safe house Leo mentioned. From there, we can figure out our next steps." Lyra's eyes shone with gratitude and worry. "Thank you, Jack. I don't know what I would have done without you." Jack smiled faintly. "We're in this together. We'll get through it." The next morning, They resumed their journey, moving cautiously through the forest to avoid detection. By midday, they reached a secluded cabin, well hidden from prying eyes. Leo's contacts greeted them, providing supplies and a plan to get Lyra out of the country. As they prepared for the next leg of their journey, a sense of calm settled over the group. For the first time in days, they felt a glimmer of hope. Jack stood with Lyra on the porch, the forest around them alive with the sounds of nature. Lyra turned to him, her expression solemn. "Jack, I've seen many worlds, but none like yours. Your kindness, your resilience, it's extraordinary." Jack shook his head. "You've shown me that we're not alone in the universe, that there's so much more out there. We're stronger when we work together." A rustling in the trees snapped them back to reality. Dr. Hart emerged from the shadows, flanked by her agents. "You've led me on quite the chase, but it ends here," she declared. Jack stepped in front of Lyra, his stance defiant. "You're not taking her, Hart." Dr. Hart's smile was cold. "You can't protect her forever." Suddenly, Max and Leo's contacts appeared, weapons drawn. "Maybe not forever," Max said, "but long enough." Caught off guard, Dr. Hart's agents hesitated. Jack seized the moment, grabbing Lyra's hand and pulling her towards a waiting vehicle. They sped off, leaving Dr. Hart fuming. As they crossed the border, the weight of their journey began to lift. They had faced immense danger, but they had also forged unbreakable bonds. Jack looked at Lyra, her eyes filled with a mix of relief and hope. "We did it," he said, his voice full of wonder. Lyra nodded, a smile spreading across her face. "Yes, we did. Together." The future was uncertain, but for the first time, it felt bright. United by their shared experiences, Jack and Lyra knew they could face whatever came next. They were not just survivors. They were a testament to the power of courage, unity, and the unyielding spirit of humanity.